Okay, so I have completed week 1 of being on TikTok and producing videos on the platform, and I'm sharing my takeaways from having done this process. Of course, it's been in the ether for some time. You know, the kids are on it, and I'm hearing about people dancing and twerking on it, so on and so forth. But when it really started to get my attention was when mainstream magazines that I read, I'm talking about Forbes, New York Times, Business Insider, were starting to talk about the popularity of TikTok for business. And that's when it got my attention, because I'm somebody who is constantly marketing my business, that TikTok was a way for you to not only go viral with your branding and your content, but it was also a way to drive business to your other existing fully fledged platforms. That's when it got my attention. But the articles that I first read really talked about influencers, right? So influencers were being found on the platform in the way that Justin Bieber had been found on YouTube, in the way that some fitness professionals have found their stardom on Instagram.
Who always texts you on my way and they haven't even left their place yet. The way
TikTok was becoming the new star maker, and that got my attention. I started to research what other brands, serious brands, were actually on the platform. And I learned that Harvard Business Review was on it, Nike was on it, Chipotle was on it, career strategists were on it, Buddhist meditation teachers were on it. And they weren't necessarily dancing. They actually had a pretty serious tone. So then I got to, okay, what videos could I make? Because I'm 47, I'm also a relatively serious person. So what videos could I make? So I listened to Instagram marketer Elise Dharma on a podcast with Amy Porterfield, where she broke down stylistically how someone like myself, who offers tips, as does she, could offer those in 15 seconds or less on the TikTok platform that I admire. First video, I just uploaded the videos that you see me do every single day, where I'm offering tips on time management, or I'm offering tips on public speaking. And they were already edited. They were in the 9:16 format. So I uploaded those just to get a sense of what it's like to upload media on the platform. Okay, I don't think I got any views for the first couple of days. Then, over a week's time, I realized that I got about 400 views on those first 3 videos that I uploaded. And the algorithm, this is important to know, that the algorithm on TikTok is very different than what you know on Facebook and what you know on Instagram, where those algorithms are actually changing every single day, and sometimes are working against you if you're not playing into the metrics. The TikTok algorithm is different because it can get picked up on the For You page, and if you look at the platform, you can understand what that is. And if it gets picked up in a critical way, or you hashtag it the right way, that's when you can absolutely go viral. My first few videos, I got about 25 likes, 30 likes each. I got 400 views on each of them. I was like, okay, I'm off to the races. So then I decided last Saturday, I went for a bike ride, and I was going to make a TikTok out of my bike ride. And so this is what you're seeing. It's purely raw video of me biking. Then I went in and I added the stickers. Then I went in and added the text. And here's what's differentiating Insta Story, if you're familiar with that platform, with TikTok. You can not only create text in the same way, but you can set a duration point. So in other words, you can say, I only want this piece of text to show up between 1 second and 3 seconds. And I want the next piece to show up between 3 seconds and 6 seconds. And that's not a functionality that you necessarily have on any of the other platforms. And that's what makes this a little bit tricky if you're trying to understand how to make videos on TikTok. The other thing that you can do that you can't do in Insta Stories on TikTok is that you can set in transitions. So the transition that I picked was actually this cool sort of old TV where it's shutting off and turning on. And I also picked transitions that I could put throughout the video to make it look like an old TV. The 3 reasons your business should be on TikTok. Number 1, other brands are already on it. Number 2, drive traffic to your other platforms. Number 3, reach. There are 800 million. Over the course of the week, I ended up making number 2 video and number 3 video. And these were a little bit of a departure, actually, from what I typically do. I was still offering tips, but I was playing into the TikTok platform in that I synced it to music. I was pointing to my tip. I didn't talk in the second one. And ironically, at least in the first week anyway, I got 1 like, and one of them was my friend, and I got 0 views. All right, so let's talk about music. I initially wanted to edit the clips down a little bit, so I use another app called InShot in order to be able to put 10 pieces of video together in one place and stitch it together. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I could go ahead and add the music in InShot as well. Well, guess what? Most of the popular music that you hear on TikTok is copyrighted. And so for whatever reason, you have to take your video and upload it onto the TikTok platform, and then you can add the music. Somehow TikTok manages to get around the copywriting issue. I don't really understand it, but you can't really add music that's copyrighted on any other editing platform. So then I added a title. This is very important because when you look on the TikTok interface, much like Instagram, you're going to see a bunch of squares. So you want a title that differentiates what each video is. Then I added a cover photo because that's important. That's kind of the first thing that people see before they actually click on the video. And then I had to add hashtags. Hashtagging, as we know, is so important because that's how you get seen on any social media platform, and it doesn't change for TikTok as well. You actually have to go to the Discover page. The Discover page on TikTok allows you to see what is trending right now in terms of tags, and then you can hashtag it similarly. I don't know that I'd necessarily figured this whole thing out, but I hashtagged 3 things. So I wasn't sure what I was doing. But here are my takeaways after completing week 1 of TikTok. I really love the creative challenge. I'm somebody who has cut my teeth on news. I had to get everything out in 1:30. Then came the advent of Insta Story, and I had to get everything out in 60 seconds. And now with this platform, I have to get everything out in 15 seconds. So there's no time to hem and haw. You just got to get to it. So I love the creative challenge of that. I like the editing functionality. I thought it was interesting that I could add transitions and effects, not the silly ones, but effects to make it look kind of snazzier than just the raw video did. But here's my conclusion. TikTok, the platform, did not necessarily like when I was playing into the cool factor by doing things what other people were doing. The platform really particularly liked me when I was just being myself and doing all the tips that I typically did on Insta Story. Now I do have to add those thought bubbles and I do have to add the tips, but just me being me is what TikTok likes. It's a community, it's all about engagement, and it's all about authenticity, because remember, the age demographic that's on the platform is between the ages of 16 and 24. Of course, there are older people on it, but authenticity still rules in terms of a value for that demographic. So those are my takeaways in my first week on TikTok.